To take a look today at doing a return for Bev and Ken here. And we have their address. And because this is starting to get to be a little bit longer with more information, our best way to attack this is to actually make ourselves a summary sheet so that we can put stuff in order and make sure that we don't end up forgetting something. Okay, so here is our Word document that I've started that's a summary sheet. Okay. Okay, we want to know, what filing status are they? So they are married, legally married, okay, and it doesn't say anything about wanting to file separately, which normally is not a good idea. So we will go ahead and put them in as married filing joint. Then our next thing is to see if they have any dependents. So up here doesn't say anything about any dependents. The second paragraph. Now in the third paragraph, we see that Ken has a 4-year-old son, Robert, from a prior marriage. Okay, he paid $300 in child support. Okay, but the child, Robert, is claimed as a dependent by Ken's ex-wife. Okay, and so that tells us right there that this child is not living with Bev and Ken. The child is living with the ex-wife. And the ex-wife is claiming this Robert. So Ken is not going to be able to claim Robert. Okay? So Robert would have to be living in Ken's house. And then there's a good chance. Or if there was in the divorce decree, it said that even though Robert isn't living with the ex-wife, that Ken could claim him. Okay, and then the ex-wife has to sign off also on the paperwork to that effect. Okay, so but in this case we don't have any of that, so there is no dependence. Okay, so our next thing that we're going to do for after we do filing status and dependence, okay, put this in 0 dependence. Okay, our next thing is that we're going to go income-wise, we're going to go down the way it is on the 1040. And so wages and the W-2 forms is what's going to go first. And so we will tab over and we will need the gross wages from box 1. And we'll need the FIT from box 2. And if you want to get into a habit of it as well, we'll need the SIT from lower on. Okay, we won't really need that for sure right now. Chapter 2 and whatnot, they use states that don't have a state income tax so that that doesn't mess you up. Okay, so in this case, we're told that the W-2 for, we're told that Ken is a student, full-time student, and we're told that Bev works as an accountant. Okay, and her W-2 is shown below. Okay, so here's her W-2. $53.50 is in box 1, that's the gross wages. And $49.50 is in box 2, that's the federal income tax. And she does have a state income tax of $675. Okay, so we're going to go, this is, if we put Bev second, she will be the spouse. 5350 is the gross. 4950 is the FIT. And 675 was the SIT. And we look and see, does the taxpayer have any? Okay, and it says in this second paragraph, he's an excellent student at SMSU. Okay, he's given a $1,750 scholarship by the university to help pay educational expense, and they were used by Ken for tuition and books. So as long as he used a scholarship for tuition and books and required supplies, then he does not need to show that as wages. If he got a scholarship and he used it to buy a used car, he used it to pay for room and board, rent, or other expenses, then that $1,750 would be added in as wages for Ken. But in this case, he spent it on tuition and books, so he's good to go. He doesn't need to include that income. But it says he also had a part-time job at the college. He was paid $25.25 on a W-2 for helping in the dean's office. There was no income tax withheld. Okay, so $25.25, and we go back here, and so $25.25 and 0 FIT and 0 SIT. Okay. So the total is going to be 52. 50. $52,875. $49.50 for FIT. And $675 for SIT. The next thing down on our 1040 is is interest, and so that a source document is 1099 INT. Okay, so we get that down. We take a look here, and it says up here in the first paragraph, the Hares have interest income of $1,000 on City of St. Louis bonds. Okay, so the City of St. Louis, that's a city. If it's a city, a county, a state, those are municipal bonds, which are tax exempt. Okay, so we're going to write that down, but they are not going to come on a 1099 INT. They're tax exempt. Sometimes they will come on a 1099 INT, but they'll be in box 8 as tax exempt. Okay, they also got other interest and dividends. So we go on down. Here's a 1099 DIV. Okay, so that's dividends. And we have our 1099 INT here. And they had interest income of $643. So this would be taxable interest. Okay, it's not above $1,500. So I don't have to worry about putting it on a Schedule B. If it was more than $1,500, I would have to put it on a Schedule B. Okay, so I'm going to go back here, and this is from Boatman's Bank. Okay. Okay, so Boatman's Bank, and that was $643. Okay, and so that's the total there. However, I am going to put off to the side tax exempt interest, okay? And that was $1,000, okay, from the city of St. Louis. Our next thing down is going to be on the 1040 is dividends. So my 1099 DIV is going to be next. And we need to know the ordinary dividends and the qualified dividends, and anything else would also be listed. Okay, so we minimize this, okay, and we find out up here that yes, they receive dividends. So we take a look down here. Here's our 1099 DIV, and that is $301, okay, and it's also qualified. Let me see, who was that? It was Green Corp. Okay. So that was 301 of ordinary dividends in box 1. And 301 in qualified dividends in box 2. The minute you have qualified dividends, you know that you're going to have to do the qualified dividends worksheet. If you want to put yourself some information about that, to remind yourself that you're going to have to do it. Okay, so now we've covered every piece of information from the first paragraph, and we have covered everything else from the second paragraph. So the third paragraph, it says Bev was laid off from her former job, unemployed during January. See the 1099-G below. Okay, we took care of Ken's son, and then we have another couple of sentences. So let's take a look at that unemployment 1099-G. So here it's down at the bottom. It was the state of Missouri, and that was 1825 of unemployment. Okay, so 1099-G, and it was state of Missouri. And that was 1825, I think, unemployment. Let me double check that. Yeah, 1825. Okay, so now all of these source documents are taken care of. Okay, let's see if there's these last couple of sentences in the third paragraph. During the year, Ken's aunt died. The aunt in her will left Ken $15,000 in cash. Now, we know from chapter 2 that inheritances are tax-free. So we don't have to worry. There's nowhere on the return that we have to put that $15,000. Ken deposited this money in the Boatman's Bank savings account. Okay, so we know that whatever interest he got from Boatman's Bank, so part of this interest is related to that $15,000. Now, the interest that you make on the inheritance is taxable, as we already put it on our summary sheet. But the actual inheritance itself, the $15,000, is not taxable. Okay, and we look down all the way through. That's all the information. The only other information was typed on